Ah, welcome back, you dangerous little paradox, you walking contradiction. You perfectly calculated accident with a face that looks like it apologizes for existing, but a soul that could burn entire empires to the ground without blinking. They really thought they had you figured out, didn't they? Your baby face, your soft voice, your polite smile, the way you say excuse me when people bump into you, the way you nod along in conversations like you're just happy to be included. They looked at your exterior and filed you under harmless, under safe, under someone they could dismiss, ignore, manipulate, control, and oh, how wrong they were. Because what they didn't see, what they couldn't see, is that behind that gentle expression, behind those kind eyes, you were cataloging everything. You were reading every micro-expression, every lie, every betrayal, every condescending tone, every fake laugh, every dismissive glance. You weren't naive, you were studying them. You weren't weak, you were patient. And now the mask slipped, didn't it? Not because you lost control, but because you chose to let them see. And the look on their faces, that perfect cocktail of shock, confusion, and fear, that's the moment you became unforgettable. Because they just realized the person they thought was soft, the person they thought was easy, the person they underestimated for years, that person doesn't exist. That person was a test, and they failed spectacularly. Let me tell you what really happened here. You spent years playing a role, not because you were fake, but because you were smart enough to know that showing your full intensity, your full intelligence, your full capacity for ruthlessness would make you a target. So you dimmed the lights. You softened your edges. You laughed at jokes that weren't funny. You stayed quiet when you had the sharpest observation in the room. You let people think they were smarter, faster, more capable than you. And all the while, you were building something they couldn't see. You were constructing an empire in silence. You were sharpening your mind like a blade. You were learning their patterns, their weaknesses, their fears. You were becoming something they had no framework to understand. Because people like you, the ones with baby faces and trauma, you're the most dangerous kind. Because nobody sees you coming. Nobody prepares for the person who looks like sunshine, but moves like a shadow. The place on Fairmont's face, who looked like lead, moves like sunshine, but moves like sunshine. They thought your kindness was weakness. They thought your silence was submission. They thought your patience was powerlessness. And then you moved. You made one decision. You said one sentence. You shifted your energy just slightly, and suddenly their entire perception shattered like cheap glass. Here's what they're whispering about now. Where did that come from? How long has that been hiding? How did we miss this? And the answer is simple. You've always been this. You've always had this edge, this intensity, this capacity for calculated destruction, but you chose when to reveal it. You chose who deserved to see it. And they weren't worthy, so they got the sanitized version, the safe version, the version that wouldn't make them uncomfortable. But now, something shifted. Maybe they pushed too far. Maybe you got tired of pretending. Maybe you just stopped caring about their comfort. And when that switch flipped, when you let even a fraction of your real self show through, it was like watching someone pull a weapon out of thin air. They literally did not know you had that in you. And that's because you're a master of misdirection. You're a wolf who learned to wear the wool so convincingly that even other wolves believed it. You played the role so well that they forgot it was a role, and now they're scrambling. They're confused. They're trying to reconcile the person they thought they knew with this new version that doesn't match their files, doesn't fit their categories, doesn't respond to their usual tactics. And it's breaking their brain. You want to know what really terrifies them? It's not that you got angry. It's not that you stood up for yourself. It's not even that you fought back. It's that you did it with precision, with calculation, with a level of control they didn't think you possessed. They expected an emotional outburst. They expected you to lose your composure, to cry, to beg, to break down in a way that would let them dismiss you as unstable. But instead you stayed calm. You stayed focused. You delivered your truth like surgical strikes, each word placed exactly where it needed to be, each move calculated to maximum effect. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't need to, because your presence alone shifted the entire atmosphere in the room. They felt the temperature drop. They felt the air get heavier. They felt something ancient and untamed looking at them through your eyes. And for the first time, maybe the first time ever, they understood that you are not someone to be taken lightly, that beneath that baby face is something they absolutely do not want to provoke further. Because if this is what happens when you're being gentle, they don't want to see what happens when you decide to stop holding back. Let's talk about the aftermath, shall we? Because right now, they're in crisis mode. They're replaying every interaction they've ever had with you through a new lens. They're remembering every time they dismissed you, every time they talked over you, every time they treated you like you were less than. And now those memories are hitting different. Because now they know you were choosing not to respond. You were choosing to let it slide. You were choosing to give them chances they didn't deserve. And that realization, that you've been operating from a position of mercy, not weakness, that's what's keeping them up at night. They're asking themselves, how many times did they disrespect someone who could have destroyed them? How many times did they mistake restraint for inability? How many times were they one sentence away from meeting the real you, and they're retroactively terrified because they just realized they've been playing with something they don't understand, something that was always 3 steps ahead of them, something that let them win battles while it was winning the war, and now the score is settled and they're on the losing side, and there's nothing they can do to change that because you've already moved on. You already evolved past them. You're already operating on a frequency they can't even detect anymore. Here's the part that really gets under their skin, though. You're not even angry anymore. You're not seeking revenge. You're not trying to hurt them back. You've just removed them from your reality entirely. And that indifference, that complete lack of emotional investment in their opinion, their judgment, their existence, that is the ultimate power move, because as long as you cared, they had leverage. They could manipulate your emotions. They could guilt you. They could make you doubt yourself. But now you've severed that connection. You've closed the door. You've deleted them from your internal narrative. And they can feel it. They can feel the absence of your energy, and it's driving them absolutely insane. Because humans are wired to seek closure, to understand, to be acknowledged. And you've given them none of that. You've just walked away like they were never significant enough to warrant an explanation. And that silent dismissal, that is more devastating than any words you could have said, because it communicates something they can't argue with. You don't matter enough to me to even be angry at you anymore. And that cuts deeper than any insult, any confrontation, any dramatic exit ever could. Let me tell you what happens next. They're going to try to get a reaction. They're going to test you. They're going to poke and prod and try to find the old you, the one who was predictable, the one who responded, the one they could control. They're going to act confused. They're going to play victim. They're going to try to gaslight you into thinking this new version of you is somehow wrong, that you've changed for the worse, that you're being too much, too intense, too cold. But here's what you need to remember. You don't owe them the soft version anymore. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them access to your energy, your time, your presence. They had years to treat you right. They had countless opportunities to see your value, to respect your boundaries, to acknowledge your humanity, and they chose not to. So now they get consequences. They get the version of you that doesn't accommodate their comfort anymore. The version that prioritizes your peace over their feelings. The version that says no without guilt, that walks away without looking back, that exists in your full power regardless of how it makes them feel. And if that makes you the villain in their story, so be it. Because you'd rather be the villain in their narrative than the victim in your own. You know what's beautiful about this transformation? They can't weaponize your past against you anymore. They can't point to your old behavior and say, see, you're supposed to be nice. You're supposed to be understanding. Because you're not that person anymore. You evolved. You outgrew the need for their validation. You stepped into a version of yourself that doesn't need their approval to exist. And that growth, that radical transformation, is something they can't diminish, can't explain away, can't fit into their comfortable little boxes. They're watching someone they thought they knew become someone they can't recognize. And it's forcing them to confront an uncomfortable truth, that they never really knew you at all. They knew a performance. They knew a character you were playing. They knew the parts of you that were safe, that were palatable, that didn't challenge their worldview. But the real you, the one with the steel spine and the sharp tongue and the unbreakable will, that person was always there. You just kept it hidden until they proved they couldn't handle it. And now that it's out, now that they've seen what you're actually capable of, they can't unsee it. They can't go back to underestimating you. They can't pretend you're harmless anymore. They can't go back to underestimating you. They can't pretend you're harmless anymore. And here's where it gets really interesting, because this isn't just about them anymore. This is about you stepping into your full, authentic power. This is about you realizing that the baby face, the soft exterior, the gentle demeanor, those things aren't weaknesses. They're tools. They're camouflage. They're strategic advantages, because now you have something most people don't. You have the element of surprise. You have the ability to move through the world undetected, to be underestimated, to catch people off guard when they least expect it. You're a wolf in sheep's clothing, but you're not pretending to be a sheep. You're just letting them make their own assumptions, and then using those assumptions against them when the timing is right. That's not deception. That's intelligence. That's not manipulation. That's strategy. And the best part is, you don't even have to try anymore. You don't have to perform. You don't have to put on a show. You can just exist in your natural state, and people will reveal themselves to you. They'll show you exactly who they are, what they want, how they operate. You can decide, based on that information, whether they get access to the real you or just the version you show to strangers. Let's address the elephant in the room, though, because I know what some people are thinking. They're going to say you've become cold. They're going to say you've lost your warmth, your compassion, your humanity. They're going to frame your evolution as something negative, as if protecting yourself is somehow a character flaw. But let me be crystal clear about something. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. Choosing yourself is not selfishness. Refusing to be disrespected is not aggression. You didn't become cold, you became clear. You didn't lose your warmth, you just stopped wasting it on people who mistook it for weakness. You didn't lose your compassion, you just redirected it toward people who actually deserve it, including yourself. And if that makes you difficult, if that makes you intimidating, if that makes you too much for some people, then those aren't your people. Those are the ones who benefited from your people-pleasing, who thrived off your self-sacrifice, who needed you small in order to feel big. And their discomfort with your growth is not your responsibility. Their inability to handle your evolution is not your problem. You are not required to shrink so others can feel comfortable. You are not obligated to dim your light so others don't feel blinded. You are allowed to be every bit as intense, powerful, and unapologetic as you naturally are. Here's what they're never going to understand about people like you, the ones who look soft but have survived things that would break most humans. You didn't develop this side as a defense mechanism. You didn't become this way because of trauma. You were always this way. You were born with this intensity, this fire, this refusal to be controlled. What happened was life tried to beat it out of you. People tried to shame it out of you. Society tried to condition it out of you. But it didn't work, because you can't kill something that's woven into someone's fundamental nature. You can suppress it, you can hide it, you can pretend it's not there, but eventually it surfaces. And when it does, when someone who's been playing small finally decides to stop, it's like watching a star collapse into a black hole. Everything around them gets pulled into the gravity of their presence. People don't know how to act. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to process the shift because they've never seen anything like it. They've never witnessed someone go from background character to main character in real time. And it's disorienting. It's unsettling. It's magnificent. Now let's talk about the people who are celebrating this version of you, because they exist too. They're the ones who always saw glimpses of this side. The ones who caught the micro expressions, the subtle tone shifts, the brief moments when your mask slipped and they thought to themselves, there's more to this person than they're showing. They're the ones who aren't shocked by your transformation because they were waiting for it. They knew you had this in you. They just didn't know when you'd finally unleash it. And now that you have, they're here for it. They're cheering you on. They're saying, finally. They're validating what they always suspected, that you're not just some soft, agreeable pushover. You're a force of nature that's been operating at a fraction of capacity. And now that you're running at full power, now that you've removed the limitations you placed on yourself to make others comfortable, you're unstoppable. And these people, these are your tribe. These are the ones who can handle your intensity, who appreciate your complexity, who don't need you to be smaller, simpler, easier. They want you exactly as you are, sharp edges and all. But let's be honest for a moment, because this transformation, this unveiling of your real self, it comes with a cost, doesn't it? You're going to lose people. You're going to lose friends, family, maybe even romantic partners who can't adjust to this new dynamic, who preferred the old version, who are too invested in who you used to be to accept who you've become. And that's going to hurt, because despite everything, despite your newfound strength and clarity, You're still human. You still have a heart that can be wounded. You still feel the sting of rejection, even when you know, logically, that these people aren't meant to be in your life anymore. And that's okay. It's okay to grieve the relationships that can't survive your growth. It's okay to feel sadness even as you feel relief. It's okay to mourn what was while celebrating what is. Because growth is messy, evolution is painful, transformation requires you to outgrow your old skin, and that process is never comfortable. But here's what you need to remember. Every person who walks away because you stop shrinking is making space for someone who can handle your full magnitude. Every relationship that ends because you refuse to be small anymore is creating room for connections that honor